Something I hear repeatedly from brides is a struggle staying consistent when social events pop up. So there's this tendency to be good during the week, then fall off. The key to not falling off is understanding food, which we've done already in the macros module together, and following foundational, effective nutrition principles that apply regardless of if you're home, on a work trip, or on a vacation. So let's first cover an ideal eating schedule. Ideally, regardless of where you are, you'd be having a balanced breakfast, balanced lunch, a snack, then a balanced dinner, and of course, a little sweet treat if you so desire. And the reason for that cadence is because we want to have a protein source throughout the day. We want to space that out throughout the day. And if that's not ringing a bell, that's exactly what we cover in the pre and post workout nutrition module. So check that out if you haven't watched that one yet. All that said though, that cadence said, if you're currently in a rhythm where your day looks like you skip breakfast, you have a snack like early afternoon, late afternoon, and then you get home and you have a big dinner, I don't want you to completely overhaul that cadence and jump right into that breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner cadence that I just mentioned, okay? So we don't want to go 0 to 100 when it comes to eventually moving to that cadence. We want to kind of make some small adjustments first. How I think you can transition to that if you are in that cadence is have a breakfast, keep your afternoon snack, and then have your dinner. And what you're going to find with that sort of cadence is you're going to have so much less of a tendency to overdo it. I often hear the terms like gorge or binge because you get to the end of your day and you're like, I haven't eaten all day, and you overdo it at dinner time. So spacing out your meals in this way will definitely help that. And it will help your energy levels, your results from being in the gym, your sleep, your any brain fog you're experiencing, and cravings. So as you can kind of tell, there's a lot of benefits of moving to that style of eating where we're spacing our meals out throughout the day in that way. Now notice that I'm not just saying breakfast, I'm saying a balanced breakfast. Balance meaning there's a balance between the macros we talked about. So there's a carb, a protein, and a fat source present, and that makes a balanced meal. There is a caveat. It can be very easy to go over on fat throughout the day. So be aware of that as you're creating your meals throughout the day. Don't go too crazy with avocado and olive oil and cheese. Reference the macro sheets in the macro guide if you need to remember which exactly a fat is, but it can be very easy to go over on fat in each of these meals if you're not careful. So keep that in mind. I'll include my macro guide below for you to calculate your own macros, but if you're like, that's too much, I'm overwhelmed, and I'd like to just stick to the wedding planning, you are a smart and wise gal. So I will also include our coaching application below if you've heard enough and you need personalized support. So those are your two options below, is either investigate the macro guide and calculate your macros for yourself using the guide, or you can go ahead and apply for personalized coaching support, and that application will be below as well. So those are the two ways that you can navigate as far as finding your personalized macros and how much each macro you should have for breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. So just to make this uber crystal clear, we want protein at every single one of these feeding times, because in order to get toned, we need to increase muscle mass, decrease fat mass, recover from your workouts, have energy, etc. All of it has to work together to create this end product we're working towards. And getting toned is like a cake, right? We need all the ingredients to get the result. So when you eat in this way, balanced meals spread out throughout the day, falling off becomes a thing of the past because you're consistently fueling yourself and there's nothing to fall off from. And because flexible dieting doesn't discriminate food items, there isn't good or bad or on plan or off plan. There's just what the food items is, a carb or protein or fat or a mix of those. That's how falling off never essentially is a thing. Now, how to set yourself up for success with this meal frequency is to actually be very proactive, which I know isn't what you want to hear, but it's the truth and it's not easy, but it is simple, like a lot of success principles. Meal prep can feel like a daunting task, so I personally recommend breaking it up into smaller tasks. So for example, I suggest the rhythm of choosing recipes on Thursday, creating a grocery list on Friday based on those recipes that you chose, grocery shopping on Saturday, and then bulk prepping your carb and protein sources on Sunday. So you don't necessarily need to portion them out Sunday, like 3 ounces of chicken at lunch, etc. But at least having those carb and protein sources bulk cooked will help a lot with sticking to this meal frequency. Now, a recipe for disaster is expecting perfection out of yourself. And I am not perfect either. Some weeks I travel and I come home to an empty fridge and eat random crap the next day because, not crap, but random things the next day because they haven't grocery shopped. So some days I start working and I haven't eaten, and then I'm running out the door, and the next thing I realize is I haven't had a real meal in forever. So the thing is that those instances are rare. They're not the norm. Because I'm consistent the majority of the time, those inconsistent days have less impact on my energy, my cravings, and how I look. Something I also find helpful is having a second bulk cooking day if you can manage it. So for instance, cooking on Sunday and then cooking again on Wednesday night, just to keep things fresh, both figuratively and literally.